Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're very well. I would like to bring up an interesting question here. Um, who is behind the wars, the economic problems on this planet, the pandemics, and the things that are happening? Um, it's very interesting because there's many people out there who say it's the Masons, it's the Jesuits, it's the Jews, it's the this and that, blah blah blah. The problem is that is it really those people? And in on a very basic level, when we look at the whole situation on this planet for say last few hundred years, one thing that I find that is very interesting is that that many things that are happening here are have been staged by someone or something that has doesn't have empathy, does not have capacity to have compassion, and for both humanity as well as all other life here on this planet. So, yes, I know there are people saying it's this group or that group, it's the Jews, it's the Christians, it's the Jesuits, it's the Masons, and so forth. I don't believe that personally. Why? Because I believe that there are good people and people who are not so good everywhere, in every religion, every nationality, every country. And by saying it's the Masons, it's a generalization. That is not true, or that saying it's the Jews, because generalization is nothing else but a generalization. It does not apply to every single individual that belongs to a certain group. And generalization is a form of manipulation. When we say all the Christian or all the Jews or all the Masons or whatever are like this, or all the Chinese or the black or the white are like that, that is a very harmful form of a generalization and poison, because it puts fear and puts us in a state of being afraid of the people, and it creates fear and hatred. And this can be used as a tool to keep us all divided. I see it as a big problem because so far on this planet, I believe that all human beings have a natural desire to live at peace, to have just a roof over their head, food to eat, be healthy, have family, and be part of a community, and have a meaningful purpose in life, because we are all wired to be tribal animals or beings, whatever you want to call. So I personally don't go along with generalizations because they're very dangerous. Saying things like all men are like this, all women are like that, all white people are like that, all black people are like that, all Asian people are like that, it's all incorrect. And it's very, very harmful because it puts the poison of fear into people, and it causes people to hate each other. It causes people to it divides people among religions, it divides people among nationalities, it divides people, and dividing people is one of the best tools to keep us all disconnected, to keep us all in a place of survival and otherness, where we alienate other people from ourselves because we are afraid of others. That poison of fear, which creates anger, which creates hatred, which creates a false perception of who we are, is to me is a big problem, because I believe that we are being duped. We are being manipulated. Our perceptions are being manipulated. I will make another video about uh, manipulation of the human mind and human perception based on secret top secret methods that were used by former KGB agents, which are all available. You can look it up on the web. But I have made a very clear, from what I've, at least from what I know so far, um, uh, observation of the methodology that's being used on us and on this planet. And so, who is behind all this? Who could it be so sick in their mind, so that to sacrifice hundreds of millions of people just in the 20th century, because we had Spanish flu, which killed over 100 million people, World War One, World War Two, and we can go on. Plus economic collapses, financial manipulations, and so forth. In my opinion, I would say there are several different sources. So on one level, we can say the people, if these are people, in fact, who are behind this are psychopathic. And they are traitors to humanity. I also would say that people who are behind this are quite possibly not even really human. And what I mean by that is that human beings, we live in a world that is not just physical. This world is a world that overlaps with many different forms of dimensions, spiritual dimensions, where we are surrounded by all kinds of entities, demons, and so forth that are around us. Now, some people don't believe in that, but that's fine. We don't have to. Just you can prove it to yourself. There is lots of research showing that people can actually be possessed by certain types of entities, demonic entities that can even pretend to be kind, good-hearted people when they actually occupy the human host, and they're very good at deceiving people by pretending they're friendly, they're kind, but at the same time, they use manipulation to make us perceive them in a certain way, but then they do other things behind our back. So I believe there are people who are psychopathic, who are on one level behind what's happening and what's been happening on this planet, and they can be behind every religion. They can be behind. Doesn't matter, the Jews, the Muslims, the Christians. It could be anybody. I believe the people who are the psychopaths who are behind all of this that's happening in the world. They've been very good at using other, whether it's a nationality or religious affiliation, to cover themselves, to make sure that they're not identified. And then, of course, they mess up everything for everybody else who pertains to specific religion or culture or tradition. So I believe that on one level, the people who are creating things are psychopathic. I believe they may be potentially possessed by some sort of negative entities that are prompting them to do evil things. I mean, we do know that since the times of King Solomon was one of the most powerful kings because he was able to control the demonic forces and angelic forces, thanks to what's called lesser and greater key of King Solomon. So since then, many people have dabbled in a lot of those kind of arts, using Ouija boards and all kinds of things. And I believe that some people in power have dabbled in some of this stuff. And some of the things that happen in this world, because if we look at it, there's so much fear. The energy of fear is not only toxic for us, it actually weakens our immune system and drains our energy, but it feeds those kind of entities. It feeds demonic types of energies that require fear from us to exist and to fuel themselves so they can actually function in this world. On another level of control, I would say this is something that's maybe a bit controversial, but I don't really believe that. What I'm about to say can be verified. If you look at the Canadian Minister of Defense, whose name is Paul Hellyer, he was a Minister of Defense for Canada for many years, and after he retired, he decided to talk about Canadian and U.S. government military involvement with extraterrestrial forces that are currently cooperating with Earth's governments and contributing on some level to what's going on here. The, because, once again, you have to really ask yourself a question: what kind of a human being would want to sacrifice hundreds of millions of people, create so much suffering, not just for humans, but for other living beings too? I believe that, we are all capable of goodness and evil. It becomes a personal human choice. But I really believe that there's something wrong with this whole picture, because human beings, I believe that we really don't want to hurt anyone else. Deep down inside, there's very few people that want to genuinely hurt someone else. There may be some, which they may fall within the category of psychopathic. There's no doubt about it. But it shows, again, when we go and look at the cases. I studied a lot of cases of people, a lot of paranormal cases, and I've been gifted since I was a child with ability to see spirit realms and things like that. And I would say that a lot of people out there who have been criminals, who killed, who committed even suicide, they were controlled by other forms of entities that were they were actually, we could, according to our duality, point of view of duality, those beings from our point of view could be considered as evil. That manipulated people who were weak-minded or weak-willed or perhaps thirsty for power and so forth, and those entities could control them. But going back to Paul Hellyer mentioned that the governments of the world are cooperating with extraterrestrial beings of different species, which are giving humanity technology, weapons, and all kinds of other things. But not all of those beings are friendly toward humans. Some of them actually, according to Paul Hellyer and other sources, are view humanity as just a pest, as cattle, as much more inferior to themselves, and would prefer to actually wipe humanity out of the face of the earth. So this is something very important. That we need to really start questioning, if we want to have a different world, because so far from what we can see, the level of manipulation and fear and destruction of our environment and interference in our lives, I mean, humanity has been kept down for so long spiritually, and for centuries people have been dumbed down and fed all kinds of information that has twisted their perception of reality. I mean, this is really a big problem, because I believe that human beings have incredible potential collectively, and we've been divided, and we've been manipulated with all kinds of false perceptions of reality. And I really think people need to start questioning what is going on. And I would say that we are being controlled by forces, negative forces, both non-human on the physical level, non-human on the spiritual level, and people who are humans, potentially humans, who are controlled by one of those two forces. That is my personal perception, because I don't really see how I really don't see what else could be controlling it. This is not just politics. This is not just about money. This is not just about, because when you think about it, central banks, for example, they can, there is no limit to the amount of money they can print, or money is just a number on a computer screen today. It's not based on anything, pretty much. So how can there be deficit? How can there be all these financial problems? It becomes just a massive game that is quite sickening. And I believe that human beings are basically being played in this whole game, where we are all being drained energetically, we are being suppressed spiritually, we're being suppressed on the intelligence level, and we are being really lied to in many ways. We're told all kinds of stories about, we're being lied to, told, with all kinds of, I call it I call it uh, kernels of truth. So what happens is, the way we get manipulated is by the lies being introduced in the cover of some truth, and we are confused between what's white, what's black, what's white, and we are continuously, all kinds of different methods are used to divide us, men from women, women from men, and whites from blacks, and just continuous fear and hatred and anger, and this we are being put in a mode of survival, and and obviously someone benefits from this, because I believe human beings together, we can really help each other, and we don't need to have all this massive level of control that exists, and it's getting tighter and tighter, as we can see. And so yes, I really, this is my point of view. I share your opinion. What do you think? Who is behind this? The situations in the world and the pandemics and so forth. We do know that many pandemics, many viruses, for example, bacteria and so forth, have been used as bioweapons since the times of Egypt. Egyptians have used viruses to kill their enemies by putting the viruses or bacteria or certain types of prions into water or food or even air. We know, for example, British, when they came to North America, they would put, I believe it was measles, in blankets. It was measles or some other type of a virus or bacteria. They would put in blankets and give it to Native Americans and kill them that way. So this methodology is quite old, and many people may not believe that, because it's like, we obviously we want to believe. We are. I believe that we are quite naive in many ways as human species, and we want to believe in goodness in general. That our governments care about us and so forth. That there is no conspiracy. That nobody, that everybody's there. They're for us, like our medical system and so forth. But we do have to once again question everything, because something is not adding up here. For example, if we look at the viruses, for example, from the Spanish flu, polio, SARS, Merck, H1N1, this particular virus right now that's going on, plus even the Black Plague, something is very interesting here. you know, it does on one level, uh, because many of these diseases actually were created and released on the public. How do we know that? Because many of these viruses were patented as weapons before. For example, there was an outbreak of anthrax in Florida that was later traced to the U.S. military anthrax. And in the meantime, it caused a lot of people, some people died, and many people got freaked out and started buying the medication for anthrax, which made some of the pharmaceutical companies a lot of money. So don't believe me, don't believe what I say, or what anyone says, or what even you think it is. Just let's look at things with intelligence. Let's question everything and not believe anything blindly until we really get all the different bits and pieces together. And I really emphasize now more than ever that people do not just believe anything anymore, and start listening more and more to their intuition within themselves. Ask yourself a question: how does it feel? Does it feel good, or does it feel like there's something wrong with this whole scenario? And we all know, we feel it inside. We are quite intelligent. Our bodies, our minds, we are spiritual beings having human experience. We can tell a lot of information. I knew personally about this scenario many years ago. I used to try to warn a lot of people, and that may sound kind of hard to believe, but I have a natural ability to know things ahead of time, and I also have an ability to know things from the past. Why? How? It's just my God-given gift, and I've been proving many things over and over again from my experience to actually happen. The things that I felt would happen in the future have already come to pass. And there's many other people like me, and I believe we all have this capacity to know the truth, not just based on what we are told, but what we feel inside, with our consciousness, with our soul, with our spirit, with God, whatever you want to believe in tells you. And I think that that's something we need to all collectively tap more into, because there's so much disinformation, misinformation about everything. People don't even know what to trust, what to believe in anymore, and people are scared. And this is numbing all of us down and making us unable to trust each other, which is another problem too, because this is further causing us to drift between each other and be scared. So I would say that we need to do our own personal homework and go if you would like. I mean, I invite you and whoever is watching this, go watch my videos that I made for the spiritual healing of the planet. I believe we need to. This is a time for us to stand together for each other. This is an opportunity for us to make sure that we are here for each other, that we use this opportunity to grow, to become better human beings toward one another, and also become better. Also, not just better, but it's time for us to really focus on peace and harmony with each other and the world we live in, the planet itself. Use this opportunity to forgive and just to do good, because what else is there in life when life is so impermanent, right? Life could go, life is only here and now. Nobody knows about the next moment. So we really need to seize this opportunity as an opportunity to focus on what is really important in life, since life can be taken away from us just like that, and we don't know if the next moment is going to be here. So I really believe that fundamentally we are here to do good, speak good, think good. What good means is very relative, but I believe that as long as we live on this planet and make a conscious decision to contribute to greater good of humanity and life on this planet, and to live in peace with each other, do good, speak good, and think good. And that doesn't mean that we won't make mistakes in life where we will hurt other people, because that does happen. There are times where we unconsciously hurt others, and I know I've done it. Other people have done. We all have done it. And the important thing is to learn from that and make a decision not to do it again. So write me a comment what you think is controlling the world and what we could do together. My personal thing is, the teachings I share with you guys on my channel are very powerful teachings that have been tested and used in Tibet and Nepal for over 20,000 years, and actually more than that. And many of these teachings are very helpful for this kind of spiritual scenario that we have in this world. Thank you for listening. Please write me a comment, write me any questions or any positive suggestions. I would love to hear any positive suggestions, anything we can collectively start talking about and sharing, so we can help each other here to lift up our vibration and lift us up out of delusion and fear. Okay, all the best to you, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great night. Sleep well. Take care.